Scene/Chapter 15. Building determination, to do or not to do. Sitting with a friend, no words required. Splish-splosh in the ponder. Bob gets psychologically blasted by all this activity that has hit him in such a short time, the loss of his girlfriends, his awareness of the chi field and its bad side, chi contact with his girlfriends, the strange global corporate activity, the anti-ant beast island. He says too much. He takes a break by going to the market for some food. However, on the way there, pictures in shop windows and bar televisions plus news voiceovers all fill Bob's head, and he holds his head with both hands with his fingers in his ears as he walks, unable to get away from it. The learning of what is going on is disturbing him, and one of the girls from the market touches him on the shoulder at his table as he sits with his head in his hands and asks if he is okay. He looks up and says yes, okay, but she looks at him with a "don't lie to me" look. As he sits, the girl brings him his usual large iced macchiato with chocolate and caramel sprinkles, and Bob smiles at her. She asks him what he wants to eat and he say "you choose." She smiles as if they have some connection. She soon comes back with a few plates and sits with him while he eats without talking but smiling at each other occasionally as if they have some kind of emotional contact. She occasionally feeds him with chopped bits of vegetables wrapped in leaves, a very friendly habit of the Far East. Time passes with people passing by and Bob staring into space with his mind relaxed and in neutral and open to input, waiting for any inspiration. Eventually he looks down at the table and turns on his tablet, which he has unusually turned itself off. Several short YouTube-type documentary statements from concerned professors at universities appear as search results in messages sent from the algorithms on Bob's main workstation, which is still working on his search criteria. These academics are leaving YouTube mini lectures, more focused than the political Inconvenient Truth type movie. The Inconvenient Truth movie, because of its political creator, has lost its sincerity, as trust in politicians are at a minimum, as the majority of politicians have become all talk, chit-chat, ineffectual, no action since the year 2000. Of the few individuals who actually do something socially beneficial, the rest are not following their lead but taking personal corporate benefits instead, including post-political office corporate employment or in some lethargic establishment institution like the United Nations, which has no assertive power to its recommendations or directives, which is more like a politician's old boys club. These YouTube clips are saying that there is global disruption occurring, similar to the details Bob has been getting concerning corporate activity and biotechnology activity. The disruption is apparently linked to genetics and what appear to be a fraternity group but more a sorority of women. Bob's jaw drops as he reviews the videos. Bob is particularly zapped by a clip involving industrialized abortion and its trafficking of genetic body parts with connections to institutions like Planned Parenthood in the USA and other third world areas who practice genital mutilation and sterilization. He is reminded of previously exposed Chinese body parts stories and executions providing the parts and the pitiful treatment of workers by transnational corporations in developing countries, that are never to be allowed to develop, that are used as Western corporate slave camps. Countries which are continually kept under social tension in order to fund some corrupt corporate capitalization by authoritarian military domination. Bob says to himself abortion is okay, there is nothing worse than an unwanted child, but selling the parts as a corporate government business is gross. His tablet converts his words to text, which makes him jump as the gross appears in capitals, as if the tablet is saying something back to him in agreement. There is a clip on tens of thousands of children, over 20,000, dying from starvation every day that makes Bob wrench his fists as he views the stuff, saying the city people on this planet no longer have any respect for life but worship dumbass consumer toys, brain-dead bloody fuckwits. All this information Bob is receiving is indicating the women that head these corporations have been assembled by some she-beast and masquerading as feminists and other LBGT minority pressure groups. They're pressuring marriage subjects and job favoritism, etc. as key social distracting false flag subjects, and female education of those already blinkered by religion that can't be fully educated. The kind of behavior that is socially disruptive to the general population, but the discrimination they are rightfully disputing is not really a priority compared to the escalating problems of economic and ecological environmental collapse and the globally escalating death and destruction it is causing. Bob notes that LBGT people are well integrated into the community in Thailand in all areas including TV presenters and all community areas. What is wrong with the Western-based journalists being so childish and obsessive about this topic? Bob says, oh well, history has been filled with genderless eunuch leaders, the greatest being Zheng He, a Ming dynasty Chinese admiral. Perhaps they forgot or most probably were never educated well enough to know about him. These video clips are well-made university professor level that show graphical visual appreciation by graphs and histograms of CEO takeovers assisted by secretarial collusion to assist CEO positioning. Bob says this is good. It's true that if you can't draw it then it means nothing. These pictures are the kind of reality pictures that mainstream news fearfully avoids, as it does not use the most tuned-in academics who can present analytical presentations. The kind of mainstream journalism that still warps back to the secretary who wanted to marry the boss and not showing that things have now changed, to those who were the secretary now entering the workforce as the personal assistant who wants a share of the corporate stock. Mainstream journalism prefers to promote the laborious speeches that everyone forgets the topic after the first sentence or two as they diplomatically veer off topic, say nothing relevant, and then conclude back on topic, often followed by a set of blank faces looking like they are thinking what on earth was that rant all about. A politician's cheap trick technique which is heavily despised by savvy academics, unless it is from those few corrupt academics writing the scripts for their political mouth machine who is paying them. After absorbing all this, he pays the girl who has looked after him and goes back to his apartment workstation. He confirms the statistics on the YouTube clips by comparing with other second-source university-validated academic data he has access to. After scanning through a few, he is now completely convinced that he should do something to expose this global mania and in the process find his girlfriends that are his main objective. Bob's purpose is clear and the method to do so at least has the places he needs to go to meet the problems head-on. He says, my priority is to find my girls and I will find the source of the global problems as well. I can't be brought down by this, I have to bring this situation to the world. Bob makes a video call to his newsroom friends telling them what he has found on the helicopter trip and in his researches. They help Bob with creating a list of enough prerequisites to make Bob's highest probability choice to win through on solving the problems. The statements in the meetings and the details of the helicopter trip as well as the list of global occurrences of biotech developments filling the list. They mention the monks and the chi energy but say they cannot attach this to the news story without it appearing wacky, even though the knowledge is a valid prerequisite to the story. By giving him some more leads they have collected on the Newsroom Collaborative Company webpage about biotech developments and female CEO positions that are related to high-level transnational corporations and who are government sponsors. Bob says, I think we should go personal security onion condition high private on this. They all invoke their Tor network or bot apps. Bob's boss is after producing a blockbuster news item and expediting an early release of the news package as quickly as possible to promote himself before anyone else gets at this sensational, stunning breaking news item that he has in his grasp. His greed for top ranking leaves him exposed to being fed with what he wants to hear rather than reality, and, after all, news is nothing to do with reality. He feeds off populist social sensationalism to feed the corporate clients. This kind of editorial behavior is borne out by the general high-priority use of emotional-based disaster as a news focus by all mainstream news agencies, who often miss important news topics as they focus on some corporate, multisexual, multiracial, crippled, nondescript viral patient, being hit from a flying piece of volcanic lava, while surfing a tsunami in a wheelchair on holiday in a mindless religion war zone. Bob's colleagues give him more guidance, providing him with a strategy of holding back, of inaction, or at least to respond by being steadfast and stay as he is and not being overactive in his plans, as they will develop on their own now he has set the balls in motion. Especially in his wish to change his life. They suggest he refuses to move out of harm's way and let it come to him and form a protective resistance to their progress in martial arts. Let them approach out of their position of strength, become unbalanced and trip over first manner. That way it will drive and entice the harmful activity coming from anti-ant, like some martial art of getting the opponent to attack and lose their defensive position, and this will help him push his news package out. However, Bob is wary of TV news people who are known to be hugely selfish, only concerned in boosting their own egos, and, although he sees their reason as being the best path for pushing this news up a level, he changes inside to use an activist strategy. Is do something inner self, rather than a sheepish employee being what is wanted by others that he has been for far too long. Bob agrees to go their way and he takes their advice to let the story push itself, but inside he has made the change to use a proactive strategic method, letting the entrepreneur ooze out of him. Eventually Bob's boss comes onto the screen looking over the shoulders of the journalists, and Bob pushes the package concept hard at him and says he does not want to be tripped up or misdirected again. His boss says he has re-evaluated the content of the story and has been looking for deficiencies, and he sees none so far in the package storyline. He tells Bob to go ahead with it and he will forward the funding, as he has already sold the package for corporate sponsorship and advertising. Bob thanks him, knowing that his boss has fallen into Bob's plan for them to follow Bob into the final debacle, to expose Auntie Ant and a plethora of corporate entanglement. Exposing the kind of entanglement that is used to hide critical corruption by politicians or corporate heads and economists who say it's too complicated. This is the very phrase which highlights and exposes something being underhand, and things are never complicated if broken down and untangled into manageable pieces to show up where the problems are. However, Bob's main drive is to help him get his girls back and walk away from it all.